All right, here we go. 10-8 is called solving sine theta is equal to k. All right. Say it again. Solving, yep. Solving sine theta equals k. The one thing that you have to remember is that you have to start with your quadrants and your bow tie. Always remember that your angle comes down to your x-axis. This quadrant, quadrant 1 is theta. What is quadrant 2? Remember we have to go, how much is this right here? Earl, how much is this right here?
That's x equals 0?
Nope, 0 is over here.
Oh.
So remember, all the way to there is 180. So if we have to go back to this, it would be 180 minus my theta. Because remember, each one of these is your theta. So that one is your 180 minus theta. So with that in mind, what is this one? What is this quadrant? Luke.
270.
What is this right here?
180.
180. And this is theta. So it's going to be 180. What's theta? So 180 plus theta. This one right here, remember you're always going to the x-axis, so this one right here is 360, what? Minus theta. Guys, you're going to have to put that up until after, because you guys can't do that and concentrate on me, so. So we have here is 360 minus my theta. The other thing you have to think about is cosine and sine. Is cosine and sine is positive in these quadrants? What about cosine? Is cosine my x or y? X. And sine is my y. So that means over here we have cosine and sine. Cosine is positive or negative in quadrant 2, class?
Positive.
It's your x, so this is your negative. Sine is positive.
Okay.
Cosine and sine. Looking at your x values, this is negative, so this is negative. Your sine is negative. Take a second and I want you to think about what your cosine and sine are in your fourth quadrant. And remember that this is first quadrant, second, third, and this is fourth. Yep. So most of today should be review, but it's just a little extra. All right, class, so cosine, is that positive or negative? Positive, and sine is negative. All right. Example 1. It says, assume that 0 degrees is less than or equal to theta, which is less than 360. So it's saying that we have to assume that theta is between 0 and 360. And we are going to find theta. And I'm going to move this up. And the first one is sine of theta is equal to 0.127. So how do I find theta? How can I find theta? In all the other chapters, what have we been doing? Derek, what do you think?
Take
So sine inverse. So we're going to take sine inverse. So in your calculators, type in sine inverse of 0.127. So theta is 7. Now we have to think about, where is sine positive? Sine is positive here. And where sine is my x or y? Y. So since sine is my y, where else is my y positive? What other quadrant? 2. What was this called from my bow tie? How do I find the angle that's in here? 180 minus theta, because sine is positive. So that means my other one is 180 minus my theta, which is 7, which gives me 173. So if you put in your calculator sine of 7 and sine of 173, you should get 0.127. So if it tells you that you are assuming that theta is between 0 and 360, no matter what you're solving for, how many angles are you going to find? You're going to find 2, because remember, sine is positive in 2 places and negative in 2 places. Cosine is positive in 2 places and negative in 2 places. So you're always going to have 2 angles. So, yep, you have 2 answers, 7 and 173. Yep. So, we have B. B is cosine of theta is equal to a negative 0.76. The first thing you want to think about, bless you, the first thing you have to think about is you always have to find theta in what quadrant. What did we say a couple sections ago? What do we have to find? Theta, where's theta? Theta is in 1, right? So we always have to find the positive first. So we have to find cosine theta of your 0.76. That's your first step. Remember, if it's negative. So find theta. So what did we do first? We took the cosine inverse. So theta is 40.5, right? Now, what did we want though? We wanted cosine to be negative. So where is cosine negative? Is cosine my x or my y? X. So cosine is negative in the second and third. Cosine is negative, just so we can remember. All right. What is in this? What's my angle in here? 180 minus theta. So that means to get the second quadrant, you have 180 minus 40.5. Which gives me 139.5. What is this one? How do you find the angle in here? 180 plus theta, and theta is 40.5. So my 2 answers are right there. So if you were to put in your calculator and you put your cosine theta or cosine of 139.5, you're going to get negative 0.76. And if you put cosine of 2 20.5, you should get negative 0.76. Questions? All right. Example 2. Now, since there's a way that we can have two triangles, or two angles, it is a possibility that there are two triangles. If your numbers add up to that you can get 180 for a triangle, that is possible that you have two triangles. Not always will there be two triangles. If it goes over 180, that means you don't have two triangles. So I will tell you that some of these have two triangles and some of them don't. But I'm going to give you one that has two triangles. So we have a triangle, and the triangle looks like this. Starting at the bottom left angle, that's 54. The top angle is X. The bottom angle is Y. Across from 54 is 7. Across from my Y is 8. And across from X is Z. And we are finding X, Y, and Z. Alright, so looking at this, hopefully you notice that you can use the law of sines, because we have 54 and we have 7. We have Y and we have 8. So I can use the thing that you learned yesterday, the sine of an angle. So I'm going to go sine of 54 over what? 7 is equal to sine of Y over 8. Alright, how we want to get sine Y by itself. So what are we going to do? You can multiply by 8, or you can cross multiply. Either one, you'll get the same answer. So because we only have to get rid of the 8, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 8. That's 1. So in your calculator, go and put 8 sine 54 divided by my 7. So hopefully you get 0.925-ish sine Y. Bless you. What do I do to solve for Y? Inverse. So I'm going to take the inverse, sine inverse. So we have sine inverse, so Y is equal to 68 degrees. Alright, so to kind of angle 1, or is it angle or is it angel? Is that right? Okay. Angle 1, remember we both started with 54. Right? Because that was what we were given. Then we just solved for Y. And on this one, it's 68. What else could Y have been? Where else is Y? Is it positive or negative that we're looking for? Positive. So where else is sine positive? Second quadrant. What is this? 180 minus my theta, which is my 68. So that means 180 minus 68 gives me 14, right? Or 112, sorry. 112. Gives me 112. So, okay. Yep. So 112. What we have to do is we have to find out, is there a way that we can have a third angle? So you have to take all three angles have to add up to 180. So if you add these two together, if there's anything left over for your 180, it's a triangle. If these two together add up to 180 or higher, you know it's not a triangle. Can you remove your hat, please? So you have here, so let's go through. We have 180 minus the 54 minus the 68 gives me 58 degrees. So this is definitely a triangle. I want you guys to see if this one's a triangle and what was left. So is this other one a triangle? And you go 180 minus my 54 minus my 112 gives me 14. So this also is a triangle. So there are two triangles. Alright? Now, to show you, you do not have to do this, but to help you out, I would recommend you redraw the triangles because we still have to find Z. We have to find side Z for this one and this one. Alright? So, no, these are the answers so far. We have found, and this is our X. Our Y is, on this one is 68, and on this one is 112. And our X is 58 and 14. When Y is 68, X is 58. When Y is 112, our X is 14. So these are two triangles. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to redraw them so that you guys can see them. So we have here, again, remember this was our 54. Our X is what we found up top, so that's a 58. Our Y was here, and our Y is 68 on the first one. And our sides were 8 and 7. And this is our Z. This again was our 54. Our angle up top was our X, so that's 14. And down here is our Y, which on this one is 112. Again, our sides are 8 and 7, so now we need to find Z. So you again will have two problems to solve it out to find X, to find our Z's. Yep. Say it again. Well, law of sines, yep. So we're going to use law of sines, yep. So you can use anything that you want because we have all the angles and we are only looking for one side. But I always go back to given. So since I was given the 54, I'm going to do sine of 54 over 7 is equal to, what angle are we using for Z?
58.
58. So sine of 58 over Z. If I can use sine, I always use sine. And since I have all my angles and I have two other sides, I can definitely use sine. Because as long as you only have one variable, you can use sine. If you only are given three things, if you're given two sides and an angle, you have to use law of cosines because there's no way you can use this because you have too many unknowns. Because the only thing you need for the law of cosines is an angle and two sides, or three sides without an angle. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you have less information, pretty much, it would be the cosine. I always look to see if I have enough information to use law of sines. If I have enough, I always use sines because it's so much easier.
So what exactly is tangent, sine, and cosine? Like what is the function itself?
It's two legs divided by, and that's only in right triangles, but is for the division, this right here, what they're doing is we are able to find a length of a side but it's because it's two things divided. It's like the two sides, so it's a ratio, is what they are, is ratios. So we have here, we want to multiply, so z sine of 54 is equal to 7 sine of 58. Divide by sine of 54. Throw that into calculator to get what z is.
You have to have it set the degrees to do that?
Yes, up until two more sections, and then you have to be able to flip between the two. We're only doing degrees because these are all degrees. But there are every degree is a radian, just like Fahrenheit and Celsius. There's a conversion. So that's what we're going to learn in 2 sections. So z is equal to 7.3. So when you come, I want you guys to come back up here, oops, and put your 7.3 to finish out your triangle. Did you guys have a question? Or you got it? Oh, do you got it though? Okay. Alright, so I want you to try to solve for z on this last triangle. So solve for z on your own on this last triangle. And then we'll come back to it. On the left side or on the right side? On the right side is 14. It's from these numbers right here. Do you write those? Do you write the 54, 111, 14?
I can see it.
But,
I can see it.
oh, yeah.
We need to know any of our like geometry, like saline triangles and stuff. Okay, good. I still remember them, and I
All right.
want to forget them, so I think if I do, I'll like just fail class because of it.
All right, so again, I will come back to my known. So you might have used a different one, but I would use sine of 54 over 7 is equal to, what one am I going to use for z? 14. So sine of 14 over z. Since it's on the bottom, I cross multiply, so I have z sine of 54 is equal to 7 sine of 14. Divide by sine of 54. So z is equal to, throwing that into your calculator, you should have got 2.1. So again, 2.1. So you should have these 2 triangles. So that means that you have triangle 1 and triangle 2. So there are 2 separate triangles. All right, you all received your work, which is your 10-8, and you have a front and a back to do. The back side has a lot of review on it. And also what we just did today. I will tell you that for the front side, we have 1 through 3, you have 2 answers. 4 through 9, or actually 4 through 6, is only 1 answer for each one, because they're not making you find that second triangle. But know that it might exist. On the back side, I don't think we have that, but I guess I'll have to, we should have actually tried, but that's okay. Should be able to find the other. But anyways, so that's that. Now, the second thing that we have is if you had to take the retake and you're taking it during class of your 10-1 to 10-3 quiz, remember that you get the score you get on it. So if you get worse on it, I'm giving you the grade if I'm going to put the effort into it, hopefully you put the effort in, you studied. So if you are taking the retake at this time, clear your desk off and I will give you the retake. If you are staying after school, that's fine too. But if you're taking it during class, clear your desk off and raise your hand and I'll come around to give you the retake.
Yeah, I know I'll get worse. I don't remember much. Well, I gotta.
So everybody on right for the angle of elevation is here. That's the
No, I
angle
gotta
of elevation,
76 degrees. Huh?
and so that angle is the same as the angle of, their angle of depression is up here, because depression is what's going down. The angle of elevation is this, and these two are the same, so this is the 6 degrees. So it would have been, you put 60 on it more, but it would have been tan 6, which is your opposite over your I chose like from 4 to 6 is the one. They should have done the, but no, you're the one.
Try figuring out.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, for us, you remember?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Anybody else need to take it first time or retake? Nope. No extra credit.